everybody, and welcome to this dialogue with Fran Arnet of FAEmpowerment.com. FA Empowerment. Gotta get the website right. And Fran, you do something different to almost anyone else that I talk to or know. Within the world of astrology, you do heliocentric sidereal astrology. And I want to invite you to say a little about, first of all, yourself, and then I invite you to say anything that you would like about heliocentric astrology. Hello.
Hello, Michael, and thank you very much for having me. And hello to everybody out there. Well, yeah, my name is Fran. That's short for Franzisca. I'm Swiss German and living in Thailand, in Chiang Mai to be exact. And astrology. Well, I have started with astrology, but don't kill me, with tropical astrology. When I was about 18, 19 years old, I had a friend who did mentoring me for years, but I then actually went a normal career way, and I learned a lot of life, went through that school, and then a few years ago, I found my way back. But as I was also liking to observe the sky, I was standing one night and I thought, what's that? And then I went to see a chart and I thought it has to match. Yeah. But I thought, this is very strange. It doesn't match. So what do I see there? And I went outside and with a piece of paper and draw the and then I said, okay, now I went back inside to my computer and was looking for constellation that looked alike. Yeah. And so that's how I started, not only to learn about the stars and the constellations, but also about sidereal astrology. And at first that was geocentric. But then I found some fascination in planetary cycles and other a little bit not so known subjects. For that, I figured the only way I can do that actually is heliocentric, which means that we put actually the sun in the middle of a chart and not the earth.
Right.
Because
right. That simple difference yields a whole different chart. And one of the things that I'm really excited to have you and your perspective to give it a platform to boost signal boost your voice is because your work is not just different, but it's I mean, whenever we talk, you consistently introduce me to ideas that I find really mind-blowing, really expansive and important, and it really helps me. Oh, goodness, yeah, it really helps me in my work, and I find that the heliocentric, it's a topic for another time, how that relates to, the natal chart, the geocentric work. It really does have a lot of interface in very interesting ways. But I think for today, it's just it's such a different perspective because the charts, they have the Earth in them.
Yes.
So we see the Earth and it's positioned in stars, but there's no moon and there's no lunar nodes. There's no ascendant and descendant in a heliocentric chart, because there's or would you say there is?
Yeah, but it's different. Yeah,
it's not the same, right?
the whole perspective shifts. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, we have an Earth sign, and you can imagine you would be the sun and looking at Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. From when you have chart drawings. And
Right.
so when you compare the geocentric position of the sun is
Mm-hmm.
exactly opposite of the heliocentric perspective of the Earth.
Right.
So if you if you are born as a sun in Virgo, you have your Earth sign would be in Pisces, same
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
degrees.
Yeah, and there's so much mystery
It's
there about that.
sidereal astrology, yeah, not yeah, the
Yeah,
constellation.
very much so, very much so. So, if there, I do want to mention before we get into the richness of the full discussion that we are connected on via the internet from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, United States to Chiang Mai, Thailand. So, if there are any delays in the video or hiccups, we're just going to do our best to navigate those. And I thank everyone for your patience. And what yeah, like where do we start? What will we talk about today? I think I would just sit back and let you talk from the point of view you are about heliocentric. I know we have things to say about energy fields and just relating to space in real time in 3 dimensions as a fluid thing. We have a lot of interesting topics. So where do we start?
And the galactic connection, yeah, don't forget that. We go a little bit further out.
Yes, yes. Yes. Always when we talk, you push the limits of my imagination and understanding a little bit further out. So let's start in the middle. Let's start at home, right? Let's start where we are. Um,
Okay, first of all, heliocentric, it just means we look at the solar system as it is built. Yeah. So as I said, as we would face the Earth, but just as we in a chart, we don't look at Jupiter's moons. Where they are would be a
mm,
bit messy. So we as the moon is actually orbiting Earth, we always see the moon in the heliocentric chart more or less exact conjunct the
right,
Earth.
right. From that point of view, from that far away, the moon is just it's absorbed into the
Yeah,
into
yeah. So it is also we could say in this sense as we however you read the moon in geocentric um, view, it is always conjunct with the Earth. And when we look in heliocentric, what I see as the Earth sign or the Earth placement
mm,
together with the moon is like, I call it the grounding or the playground,
mm,
but also like the uh, our incarnate life.
mm,
Yeah, so we
yeah,
come from the sun with all the ideas and the expression and so on, and we want to anchor it and give it form.
right,
And so that would be like the earth sign, and
right.
this incarnate life would include the meaning of the moon.
Right. And that's an easy touch point for people who don't want to dive completely into heliocentric, but they have their astrology practice. The point opposite the sun, the sort of solar polarity point, is
Yeah,
is representing the full sort of earthy ground level richness of the experience. It's also in the way that oppositions work in the sky, because of the, it's a very indescribable way the heavens are arranged, seemingly with meanings that balance each other. We have for me as a Virgo sun, what I need in my life, the life path, is asking for Pisces balance the Virgo. Everybody's like that. What they really need is sort of, and you can go deeper into that and get into any planet's polarity point. Jeffrey Wolf Green taught about that, but he specifically emphasized the Pluto polarity point. But he said all planets have polarity points. So that's, I think, an interesting takeaway, something we can get right away from heliocentric, that the sun has a polarity point, and this is representing not the big sort of spiritual, if you will, and maybe you could tag onto this and add or correct, but more just earthy, practical, what the life's really asking for kind of matters in the daily kind of lived experience sense.
Yeah, it is like I think of it like an axis of rotation. Any polarities, you cannot, these are not just random points somewhere and they are fighting together. It's more like an axis. It is a theme that is completed, yes, through the two. And so when you come from a spiritual objective view, you often hear about you have spirit and this, and then you have incarnate life and all these kind of things. When you look at that as one, it becomes very different. Yeah, right. It's not, oh, I'm here and now I want to leave there on the this doesn't make sense. You have something you want to do here, and so for that you have the earth sign. You see what you want to ground yourself into, with the spirit or the idea or the radiation from your sun sign. Yeah, so wow, yeah. It and then it reflects back and forth. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it never goes just one way, it goes both ways. Yeah.
Of course. And thank you so much for giving voice to that. Yeah. So when you get into heliocentric calculations, the world, it changes a little bit, but it stays a little bit the same. You're dealing with the same zodiacal constellations.
The constellations, of course, are the same, and but because I'm following also the orbits of planets, I have made some studies about that, and so it is. The planets, the inner planets, let's say until Neptune, they follow more or less, are they on the same plane as the ecliptic, but then from Pluto on outside, there is no more ecliptic. So it goes up and down and this way and that way, and so you don't have the zodiacal constellations involved so much anymore. You have whatever, you can have them very north or very south of those constellations, and so you have to get a lot to know there.
So one of the things that I was hoping to just kind of, maybe this will be a segue into some of the material that I know you want to present today, is like, where does that go, that shift in perspective, opening that up and seeing things from a solar point of view, or seeing us as a solar system, not just here on Earth and how does everything relate to this, but then, you know, I know I'm looking for the question to ask, and I think it's like, where did that take you when you sort of connected with heliocentric? Was it the bigness and the more, like, what hooked you? Why are you still doing heliocentric work primarily? What is it?
Yeah, as I said, I started with the planetary cycles. Yeah,
Hmm.
so different pairings, and so I wanted to know where are they actually. Yeah,
Yeah.
because they orbit the sun and not Earth,
Right.
and so that were very different data. Sometimes it can be before it happens geocentric, and sometimes after.
Hmm.
So a conjunction. And then I realized, okay, so what is actually the meaning? Because why do we have this different spheres, if you want? Yeah, we have this
Hmm.
separation between the inner planets and then the societal planets, and in between you have the main asteroid belts,
Hmm.
and then yeah, we go until Neptune, and then what changes, what comes after, and then that whole new perspective, and then including the centaurs, which are somehow I call them bridging.
Hmm.
They are not really asteroids, but they are, can be like asteroids and
Yeah.
can be like comets, right? So it's this they are something special in themselves, and
Hmm.
they have very strange orbits and connecting specific planets.
Hmm.
And so I thought, yeah, that sounds very connecting, very
Right.
bridging.
As you're putting the pieces together. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I had all this, and then wow, yeah, maybe it's very different octaves or very different um, behavior that they um, they relate to, or also within us. Yeah,
Mm.
different
Right.
spheres we can connect and live in, and
Right.
then the thing, it is like it flows out, but it also flows back. Yeah, so
Mm.
you were talking about the energy field, so
Hmm.
then it just like, yeah, it opened so much. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I thought, well, maybe there are other ways to read a chart when we actually integrate this different spheres or places the planets are actually in, and then
Mm.
including their very different orbits, which are no longer bound to the zodiacal constellations.
Mm. Right. So in one sense, I hear you saying that the major planets out to Neptune still sort of orbit in something that goes through the normal zodiacal constellations
Yeah,
from a heliocentric point of view.
yeah.
But on the other hand, I hear you saying that it is very 3D. It's because, well, we have the normal planets in their plane, and we'll see some video of that kind of moving through space to get like a new interesting visual in everyone's mind, because you know, we always visualize these planets rotating and this is how we are in space,
Yeah.
but the Plutoids and several other you know, really interesting bodies, but especially the Plutoids, the Plutinos on out, they contradict this plane. They go down and up and around, and they'll
Yes.
come in and come out this way and come back, come out that way, and it's it's vividly interesting, but it takes us out, like when we're looking at a 2D chart on paper, right? It's hard. So we have to get into 3 dimensions of space when we think about stuff like that. And that's one of the things that I love about astronomy and astrology, is it gets you thinking bigger and bigger and bigger, and you just engage. And there's points where you realize, like, oh man, I'll never figure that out, it's too big. But then you still get challenged to keep going and try to incorporate that understanding into something. And I just love that whole process in my life. And in your life, it's taken you to very rich perspective. That one of the things that you and I were talking about, if I could share my screen and show that video of the let's see, we have a video here. It's a rendering by Gord Christofferson. Was published on YouTube, and he just has this rendering of the planets going around. So this would be kind of a top-down perspective, and we start to see that this is kind of how most people are thinking about our planets, but we're really spiraling through space, with each planet sort of having its independent electromagnetic field. Well, Venus and Mars are a little bit exceptions, but they don't have magnetic fields. They don't have dynamos, but most of the planets are just sort of like doing this wild dance through space. And what we're seeing here, Fran, this is just the planets out to Neptune. So this is just like the ordinary behaving planets. You can kind of see they're all behaving somewhat regularly. And I actually like this part because you can see how close the inner planets are there compared to the outer planets when we do this. But just thinking from a heliocentric perspective, you have to start sort of visualizing things like this in order to function at all, don't you, Fran?
Yeah.
So,
it is, you can make things visual also. I make this planetary cycles, and over a long time, and then sometimes I make some the geometry of it, and then there you also see some spiraling stuff, in
like
this
a
sense,
spirograph, or yes.
Yeah, because they never come to the same point again. Yeah,
Right.
they go a little further, some
Yes.
quite a lot, and some less. But so you can see the spiraling motion in this sense. Yeah. So it's in everything. Yeah, but you have to go to look for it much more. It's on this flat piece of paper. It's always difficult to demonstrate it.
Yeah, it is. I find that really challenging, and I like to even in sessions show people like Stellarium or the planetarium mode in my software. Just get a 3D, like, oh, this is the sky when you were born, and this outer map that we have, like a definitive read on, this is mirroring your labyrinth. This is where you start your journey. Like I'm so fascinated by how the inner world does not have, like, if there's a map, it changes. It's very fluid. We know some of the rules, but we don't have like a clear map of our inner world of emotions and thoughts and experience. Like we have a clear map of the outer world, and where is Jupiter? Where is Mercury? Where are these actors? We can get this good sense. And to get it in 3 dimensions, there's something about that mirrors our dimensionality as beings. We're not 2D, we're not shadows, we're not on paper. This is vividly real, and that's reflected to the finest degree.
Yeah, and on the other side, we are also not only bound to our body, right? So it's really things open up, yeah. And then also the whole, I mean, you said, yeah, we have until Neptune, yeah, but so yeah, then you start dreaming, right? So you go out there, yeah, and you start imagining, right? So you
Yeah,
transcend.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. No, it's beyond that. Yeah, yeah, beautiful, beautiful thought. Wow. So one thing that I wonder is when we think about these spiraling patterns, um, something changes for me. It becomes like a dance. It becomes very beautiful. It becomes and this we're getting into we've left science kind of behind. We're in that more abstract world of art, I think, and it becomes something interactive though, in a way that I feel you can have an analytical interaction with a chart. You can even have an emotional connection if it to your interpretation, but it's in a sense it's data. When we get into three dimensions of spiraling through space and planetary motion, and it's dance. I mean, it's so different. It's so different to be interacting with this as a dance in at least space and time, much less we get into what are dimensions and how high does
Mhm.
this go. But
It's also, when you then, for me, it was logic. That when I started with the heliocentric perspective, then you have to, at least for me, it was like automatically it came, yeah, okay, so the Earth goes around the sun, but so now I look from the sun, and but yeah, okay, so but the sun goes around the galactic center, yeah,
mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm,
so where does that all lead? Yeah.
mm-hmm,
And then,
mm-hmm,
yeah, and we are in a spiral galaxy. So
absolutely.
logically, everything has to spiral, right?
Mm,
So somehow, maybe time as well. And
maybe. What a beautiful thought. Yeah.
so it's just, it just, it goes further, and then but when you go out you also have to come back, yeah, we have an earth
Mm-hmm,
sign, so
mm-hmm,
you come back and then you see like, okay, and so what is uh what does connect, and then I came across all these I was reading about astronomy and everything, and so and then okay, then come all these words and stuff, and then oh my goodness, what is this, what is that, and then I had to read about all of this, and no, I didn't understand everything,
mm,
but yeah, some, and
yeah,
the rest I did leave for later,
yeah,
and if ever.
mm-hmm,
And so yeah, that's how things go, and I think uh, you know I then I came across, I think I can show that um, this wonderful image about the inner solar system and
yeah,
the
please.
energy flow. Yeah, it is so beautiful. And then when you see this beauty, yeah, then oh wow, and it just it
Yeah,
goes on and on and on, and then
right. The
you
it's
see the same kind of behavior and cycles or
mhm,
spirals
yeah,
in everything, yeah, so that whole fractality thing
uh,
also becomes another theme in everything. It becomes so
everything, everything.
visual, yeah,
Yeah,
in this
yeah.
sense. So yeah, I think I give some visuals.
Yeah, please. You have some great images that I'm excited for you to share. Let's see. All right.
Okay, so you can see it?
Yeah, very good. That's coming through.
Okay, so this is a picture, or let's say an artist drawing about that, how the whole field
Right.
spirals in and outwards, from the sun here in the middle, and then out here would be Jupiter, and then it would go on and on, right? And so we can also see in all this we have a pulse, but we also have let's say you said dance, so it's like a symphony,
right
of different waves that can be like sound, so this is
to be clear, like sound, like a symphony, but they're electromagnetic. They're what we think of as electromagnetic waves, like scientifically. Would that be accurate?
Yeah. This is the sun's magnetic field, and it is dipolar, so it means it goes in and outwards, and the sun, that's interesting. The sun flips the magnetic south and north every about 11 years. That gives a 22-year cycle.
So you're not talking about the sun shifting magnetic south, magnetic north, but this field fluctuates in.
No, the sun's polar axis does flip. So
okay. Excuse me. Thank you. I wasn't sure. Thanks.
At least that's what NASA says.
Okay. We'll leave that there. I don't want to talk shade on NASA. They.
So this is I always thought that's so beautiful, and this picture, and it gives us this whole, when we think back about sacred geometry and all this ancient wisdom, then we can see the connection here, so. But I was also mentioning that the energies they shift, or let's say the intensity of the sun's influence, it does it becomes, at the beginning in the inner system, it's very strong, and then it becomes less and less, because then the influence from the interstellar space, or from the galaxy, or however you want to call it, becomes stronger towards the outer layers.
Right. So even in space, where we might think of in our minds, like, oh, there's no resistance, there's no oxygen, but an electromagnetic field will dissipate. It'll run into other interfering fields, and it'll basically okay, thanks.
It changes, and then it's interesting how it changes, where the planets orbit.
Right.
When you take that into consideration.
I don't know where you're going with this, but I know that the planet's orbit follow a very specific mathematical formula, do they not, in distance from the sun?
And then you see, what shifts. We have the orbits they can be very extreme. Yeah, that when the sun is here, it can go here quite close and then go out there. Yeah, so it's very elliptic. Yeah,
elliptic. Yeah,
yeah, and but where do they go? So within the whole thing. Yeah. So very interesting, and I find that gives a total new perspective to that too.
Oh yeah.
So
I like the idea that the field is just sort of always kind of I don't want to overuse the word dancing, but it does just that image just implies such like emotion and just the
yeah,
process, that everything
and a
is very
lot
dynamic.
comes out from the pulses or from the solar wind. Yeah, the
Right,
flares,
right, right.
and they don't come so they may have a certain rhythm, but I don't know that rhythm. Yeah. So, but
Right,
they,
right. Well,
it just,
the sun's magnetic field is pretty variable.
mm,
It's not overly consistent. Like we would like to think of our star that we orbit as being like very stable and consistent, but it's stable and consistent to get us where we're going. It would seem, but it does yeah, the solar activities and even the electromagnetic field itself kind of fluctuate just due to the nature of the sun, its composition and rotation. And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't want to like create alarm in anyone who's not aware that the sun has a variable magnetic field. That's okay. But yeah,
yeah, I mean, many planets do have the planets do have their magnetic fields as well,
yeah.
uh, everything does have uh, those fields.
Almost everything with a dynamo, isn't it? Is
Mm.
everything with a dynamo inside to create a magnetic field, because Mars and Venus don't have strong magnetic fields. They
They
don't
just
have like
function
auroras at their
different. They
they
just function different.
they do. They don't. I think it's because of the lack of convection in their core. To be honest, Venus and Mars don't have enough convection in their core to create that kind of electromagnetic field. So from what I understand, you don't see like aurora, borealis or the aurora australis that we see here on Earth, because that's an interaction with our magnetic field and the sun's electromagnetic fields. And then Uranus and Neptune have magnetic fields that aren't even aligned with their rotation. They're like the magnetic field of them is like different, because Uranus is a real weirdo. But my point is, without getting all into the differences, each body that rotates, right, is generating like a magnetic field. So like
Yes.
do you have a picture of a torus to show like
No,
how
no, but I think you have one. Yeah.
oh, okay, we'll get there later then, because you're sharing your screen and it's just easier for well, but a toroid field, well, actually, here we can do that.
Yeah, share that. I do stop sharing and you
Oh
share
yeah.
yours. I think that's otherwise it gets forgotten.
No, that's fine. I didn't want to complicate things, but it is good to see. Is that coming through? This is like a toroid field. So in the middle of this field, right there at that very skinniest centermost part, that would be like where the sun might sit, and this would represent like it could be a massive electromagnetic field surrounding that body, like even so. And this is why, like, say the Earth sat here in the middle and this was the electromagnetic field surrounding the Earth, that interaction where it's very intense here at the poles is why we see the interface between a sun's electromagnetism and the Earth's in the form of auroras. I don't know if that made a whole lot of sense, Fran. Did that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, good. But that's a torus. And there's so much to say about torus shapes and toroid shapes. But that's basically when you have a spinning body that's generating an electromagnetic field. And in order to do that, stars can do it, planets can do it. I mean, black holes can do it. Anything with a dynamo, that's we call a dynamo, that can generate consistent electromagnetic current. If there's rotation and magnetism, and in some cases, I think heat is
Yeah,
necessary.
or also pulse, yeah. It
Pulse.
is, yeah, it's this mm, oscillating.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Pulse.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
gotcha. Well,
So
I'm like you. I took some classes and I've studied astronomy and astrology, of course, but I don't have like a wide I don't know why Venus and Mars are said not to have strong magnetic fields. But I do think it has to do with lack of heat, that is lack of heat in their core. And that's all I know. For now, I think the important thing is that our planet has a field around it. Our sun has a field around it. All planets have fields around them. Our
yeah,
bodies have fields around them. The heart creates
yes.
a toroid field all around us. So, this all back to fractality and the relationship of everything to everything else,
Yeah, but
everything is.
it's not only the heart, it's also the thoughts and everything.
Mm,
Everything this contribute to the to the atmosphere we have around us in this sense. Yeah.
wow,
So
yeah.
um and I read an article not long ago about Venus, and they have seen some interesting phenomena in the atmosphere of Venus, and they thought it's like lightning,
Yeah.
but they now are finding out it's something else because the whole atmosphere or
Oh, wow.
the chemical
Yeah.
composition of Venus atmosphere is very, very different.
Yeah.
And so, and it's like cloaking the whole planet. It's very dense atmosphere. And
Right,
so,
right. So it's
but
not
they,
lightning that they were observing, the
no, it's
storms, is
something
it like a
else.
plasma storm or some kind of weird?
Yeah, they
Oh,
say the direction is different
that's why.
because I don't remember. I
Oh,
don't
yeah,
want to say something
yeah.
wrong, but it's lightning comes from up to down or from down to up,
Mm,
and on
mm.
Venus it's the other way around, and it has
Wow.
another name. So,
Very
but
interesting. I'll
uh,
look that up. Yeah, I just that's a rabbit hole for the future. That's great.
yeah, it's just there are so many news and things that you can read about. And then I thought, but the interesting thing is that Venus has a very, very dense atmosphere, and her field is just more like dragged behind her,
Oh,
and
wow.
the whole thing is nourished by the sun.
Oh,
So
wow. Yeah.
Venus is directly absorbing
Yeah.
from the sun. Yeah,
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
which is I found interesting when you think about
Oh, yeah. Their
yeah.
relationship in astrology. They're they're
Yes,
they're good
yes, yes,
friends. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah, and that the radiation or the outshining expression of the sun is nourishing the values and beauty and everything that Venus represents. Yeah.
yeah.
So that this is in such a direct correlation.
Yeah. 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 Fractality. That's that's always been such a big concept for me. Fractality. You had mentioned it. It's just one of my favorite words, that everything reflects everything else, or that everything at scale is like a representation of the principles of everything else. Like you
Yes.
were saying. Yeah. So, um, Did I interrupt when I showed that Taurus? Did I interrupt what you were sharing on your screen and your flow of information?
No. We
Okay,
just
okay,
made a
just
little
checking in then.
detour, so I can go
Sure, sure.
back.
Yeah, that's the way good conversation goes, I think. Never a straight line. So no worries. But if you wanted to get back into any of that,
Here we are. So, yeah, the whole heliosphere, yeah, that whole
mhm,
bubble that is created
mm,
through all the outbursts and of energies of the
yeah,
sun.
yeah,
And the magnetic field, yeah, it's more like the glue, yeah, that holds
right.
us all together, yeah, that the whole system.
Right, right. And the heliosphere is basically, and the
The whole
helio sheet.
bubble.
The is that essentially it's considered like magnetic? Is this part of the same sort of like great field from the sun, or is this created by
Yeah,
something else?
yeah, and it's huge. So
Hmm,
that's
hmm.
the whole influence of the sun. Yeah.
Right, like
So
that's a
in this
star for
diagram here, you can see here the sun and then the inner system. Yeah,
right,
the ecliptic, and then here it goes out. We would have the whole Kuiper belt,
right,
and
and the
then
Oort
this,
cloud.
yeah, that is out here
Oh, is
somewhere.
it then? Oh, thank you.
Yeah, that's out there. No,
Okay.
here we have the Kuiper belt, and we have the termination shock. So that's there, and it means that the whole energy will change. Yeah, it's like there suddenly the influence from the sun
Mm,
becomes much lesser.
mm,
And
mhm.
as you can see here in that diagram, we have Voyager 1 and Voyager 2. They have actually left that extreme bubble.
Mm,
Yeah. And
oh,
so they did send data, and because we didn't know what it is out there, right? In a
right,
scientific way. So
right,
they did
right.
send data, and Voyager 1 was out there first, and they measured a drastic drop in temperature, but
Mm,
also in the strength of that power from the sun.
right.
So it suddenly dropped. Yeah,
And that's the termination.
yeah. It says termination shock, and then you are in this bit here, the helio sheath, and there you have several layers as well where it little bit changes. And
Yeah.
interestingly, there is even a part within that everything comes like to a halt, like zero.
Mm,
Yeah, it's just, yeah.
mm,
And I was thinking about, oh, and in meditation and everything, you have that thing about the 0 point, and
right, right, right.
you have that so many different discussions, right? And
Mhm.
there we go. So we have a 0 point in the heliosphere.
Yeah. Yeah.
So wait a second. It's yeah, I made a note. It is out at about 113 AU, astronomical
Oh,
units,
okay.
that Voyager 1 detected a so-called stagnation region where the solar wind was at zero.
Huh.
I have
Yeah.
another diagram. Oh, maybe I should say this one here, you can see we are, it's a long tail behind
Right. Right.
the whole sun, and it's
Right.
really behind because this bit here, it's where we are moving through. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
towards the solar apex, but to that a little bit later. So we have that would be the direction,
yeah,
north.
yeah.
And so the other one is what we drag behind us. So that is past, and this is future, right? So in this sense.
Is there a way? Surely, like you're talking about the sun. Okay, let me put my thoughts together, because I have a good one here, but I have a good question, but I have to kind of arrange my thoughts. Thanks, Fran. I think what I'm trying to say is, do we know, like, we can look at nodes and get a sense of the north node, or like that direction is in these set of stars? Can we get a sense the sun, like when we look at the sun in a chart, it's static, but can we get a sense like, oh, the sun has a trajectory, like we are all headed at, whatever, 52 million miles a second. I made that up. However fast we're moving through space, that would be way too fast, I think. But as we're flying through space, do we know which direction we're going, and is that relevant?
Yes.
Okay, that's that. Sorry,
yes,
it took
we
so
know.
long to
I
formulate that
come
question.
to that a little later.
Good. Thank you. Yeah.
So I would like to show this diagram here.
Oh, wow, cool.
So here it's in fact the same as we have here, just zoomed in, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
we have the astronomical units, yeah.
Yes.
In as well. So we
an
get
astronomical
an idea.
unit is sun to Earth. That's the distance.
Yeah, that's one, yes.
Right.
And then Saturn is at 10 and Neptune at 30. And as you can see, we are not at the termination shock yet. So now Neptune is at 30, and I did here draw in with yellow. So it's not exactly to scale. Yeah, it's just my drawing here. Pluto has an orbit from at perihelion. Pluto is actually closer to the sun than Neptune's orbit usually is. So Pluto's orbit does cross Neptune's orbit. I think that's important. And he goes from about 29 AU to about 49 AU. And then down here, here in pink, I have Eris. She goes from 38, so closer than Pluto at some times, yeah? So from 38 to about 97.5 AU. So that means when you look at this here, there is the termination shock and the heliopause.
Right.
And so Eris, she travels all through this space here.
Yeah. And she seems she's at 97.5. She doesn't really break the
like
heliopause.
Almost at heliopause.
Right.
Yeah. And Sedna, yeah, this light blue here, she comes close as 84 AU. So yeah, it's like this intersections, yeah. So Sedna comes into 84, but then out here to about 937.
Yeah.
No?
So Sedna does sort of come into our system at the perihelion, huh?
Yeah, but only into the Kuiper belt, yeah.
But the rest of the time she's almost spending like just outside.
Yeah,
I mean, like what, like
Now,
significantly outside. That's interesting. I'd never seen this drawn. That's really awesome. Thank you.
but
That's
you
a
can
helpful
see here,
diagram.
I was putting up here aphelion and
Yeah,
perihelion of the three.
yeah.
Now, Sedna's perihelion is at roughly 11.5 degrees Gemini.
Okay.
And she is now in earlier Taurus, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
she's on the way to her perihelion.
Yeah,
That's why she,
in a few days there'll be a full moon, and the moon will be very close with Sedna.
yeah,
But it's, yeah.
Earth as well.
Sorry.
So, um, yeah, but the thing is, you asked me about the direction
Mm-hmm.
of the whole solar system.
Yeah.
Direction is north to a point somewhere between the constellation Hercules and Lyra, meaning north of Sagittarius.
Mm. So
So
we're so
when
yeah, okay.
when we see perihelion, when we see, okay, the whole system is traveling here north
Mm.
towards Sag,
Mm.
then when Sedna is at perihelion, she is at perihelion on this side
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
not on this side. And
Okay.
means she is at aphelion, actually in Sag, yeah,
Yes.
in the direction of the solar apex. So that means she is kind of like leading. She's
Yeah,
she's not
she would
back with
be.
the sun.
Yeah.
She is ahead. She is somewhere here.
So just to give a visual as we move through space, Sedna's like out there ahead, like
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, that's
Because
that's
she
an
takes
interesting.
11,400 years for one orbit. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
And she has a very steep, a very elliptical. Yeah.
she does.
So when she is furthest away, she is leading. Yeah, she is
Right,
much
right, right.
ahead of the sun.
That's that's amazing. That's so fascinating. Every bit of information we can gather right now about the dwarf planets is immeasurably valuable because we know so little. And every bit of knowledge we can build is excellent.